In today's blue light hotspot, I'm going to be focusing on the country of Bulgaria. I don't know how many of you have ever tuned into Bulgaria or even ever give it a second thought, but I am telling you, you are going to really want to tune into this one because this is a mystical, magical place. Now, for me, my name is Nancy Rebecca. If you're new to my channel, I am a psychic clairvoyant. I'm also a retired nurse. I've been following the star beings, the blue light star beings, since 2017. And now there's been these waves of blue that come through, and the star beings will ask me to focus on different countries depending on what's going on. And so right away, Bulgaria came up for this talk today. So I'm going to ask the intuitive archaeologists out there who've been watching these videos, who've been adding your historical or your ancient information. I really love it and I love reading about it. And I have got some homework assignments for you because that Bulgaria, you can find some legends, but there's not a lot in English. And I think it would take a lot more of a deeper dive than I had time for. So it takes a village, right? So I appreciate you helping me out here. So as always, I go into meditation and then I ask to feel and experience the frequency of Bulgaria and that area. Immediately, it wasn't a vague little subtle sense about things. This enormous pull, this deep, deep grounding pull. I could feel my grounding going deeper than the deepest depth. And it felt as if my grounding was going into other dimensions. Now, I know that we often think of dimensions in the higher realms, but this area was really tapping me into the deeper aspects of the dimensions in the Middle Earth, the underworld, and I didn't want to move. I could feel like all the stress I might have around my head, my shoulders, I felt it all just kind of melting away like candle wax. And all I did was tune into Bulgaria. It started melting off my shoulders. My shoulders are relaxing. My body's relaxing. It was as if it was just this glorious, rich feeling of groundedness. But it didn't stop there because I felt like I could sit in that for the next 24 hours. What happened next was I felt like if I just could let go, I would be sucked right through the earth where my house sits, and I would be sucked into the underworld, way deep in the underground. And this is the thing, I could hear like this gentle roar of activity, people talking, a lot of movement in Middle Earth, in the underworld. I could feel all of these frequencies going on. There was also a loud roar of water, lots and lots and lots of water. I could sense a big river, but I could also sense these gigantic lakes, bodies of water under the earth, and they were this incredible luminescent blue color. So I was definitely feeling a connection to Mother Earth in a way that I have only experienced a couple times, and those were when I made trips to South Africa. And I couldn't believe it because here in Bulgaria, it felt even more grounded than that. So I keep getting these impressions, and this is where the intuitive archaeologists that listen in, I could feel a strong sense of like a tropical environment, almost like in the ancient history, it would have been this kind of tropical forest in a sense, like, the humidity and the heat. It looked like, in that sense that I was tapping into, was that there were a lot of animals, there were a lot of creatures, there were people. I mean, it was a very active area. Now, I could be tuning into the underworld. Maybe it's warm in the underworld and it feels like a tropical environment in the underworld, but it feels pretty incredible. I wasn't able to find any of the ancient history. I do know that in the area of England, they have done research. They've been able to find that it did used to be a warmer climate. So maybe Bulgaria also used to be a warmer climate. Then there was this pulse. And when you tune in, I want you to tune in. I can describe it in my notes as this pulse of inner awakening. It was almost as if I was coming alive. It felt like my chakras were coming alive. It felt like every cell of my body was coming alive. Now, I've traveled a lot, and at age 65, the furthest I want to travel is from my living room to the kitchen, to the bedroom, to the bathroom. That's all. That's the only place I want to go. And I must admit, it really sparked my curiosity and my desire for adventure to travel to Bulgaria. I'm not sure that I will actually make it there, but I will definitely have it on my bucket list just in case. So I was getting this sensation of a lot of water and caves, many, many caves. And then these caves of carved walls. So I was getting that they had carvings in the walls, and I was getting chambers. So I know this sounds a little odd, but I was getting great detail about caves. I've picked up caves before in other countries, but this cave system is just different. That's the only way I can describe it. And then I picked up something about a sacred cow, a sacred cow. So I will leave that there. It was a bull, sacred cow, a bull with large horns. I can feel its enormous strength, very huge strength, and a deep certainty of purpose. So when I translated this kind of into the country, there is like the peoples of Bulgaria are very strong, have strong convictions of purpose, have very strong faith, have a lot of strength in their sacred beliefs. So then I wore this necklace because I have this Egyptian ankh. I don't know if you can see that on the end, but it's like a holy rosary. So it's the lapis color, which is related to the blue light. It has Mother Mary. I never can do this because it doesn't mirror right. Mother Mary, and then an ankh on the end. So a friend made it for me. And so why? All right, this is a strange thing. It's just so strange. So I had this strong feeling of Egyptians, a strong Egyptian connection, a strong sacred cow connection, and a strong sense of a connection to Egypt. I found in my search that Bulgaria has a culture of people called the Balkan Egyptians. So they're a culture of Balkan Egyptians that have really follow a lot of those Egyptian cultures. But let me be clear here, because I found a little tidbit that, let's see what it said. Bulgarian archaeologists are advancing a theory that their ancient civilization influenced ancient Egypt. So they have history. They have a lot of history in Bulgaria that exists before Egypt became civilizations. So there's an archaeologist there by the name of Anna Radocheva, who has found similarities between prehistoric sites in Bulgaria and historical sites in Egypt. what's interesting is it says Bulgaria is currently involved in a historic dispute with Macedonia, and blocks of the Macedonian European Union saying that they are not going to be involved in talks until the country agrees with Bulgarians' theory historically that Bulgaria influenced Egypt. Egypt didn't influence Bulgaria. And so I'm laughing because we know a lot in the world when it comes to wars. We know a lot in the world when it comes to conflict. We don't know a lot in the world about these beautiful, ancient, historical events, megalithic history, prehistoric sites. I can only speak for myself. I get really surprised. I get really surprised in a really good way. So, but there was that connection with Egypt and Bulgaria. Totally surprised me, but it shouldn't have, because that was my intuitive sense. And then I was picking up Christian overlays. And they do have Orthodox Christianity there. They have a strong faith there, very, very strong faith. There is this alignment, a light illuminating a strong pillar of divine light filled with prayers. And this is what I was picking up, but it remains the dominant frequency in the earth. So this pure divine light going all the way down into the earth, really illuminating a holy sacredness. Oh, and this is another legend or history that it is said that Jesus came to this area and Jesus descended down through a particular cave. I'm going to give you the information about the cave, but it's called Devil's Throat. And the history said that Jesus came there and Jesus went down into hell through this deep cave called Devil's Throat to save souls, bring them up, and help them ascend to heaven. Now, isn't that an amazing, amazing story? So I really loved that. So in this legend describing Jesus descending through hell, coming back up to save souls, there is this connection that's related to Orpheus. Orpheus, who was known for his incredible, beautiful voice and his playing the lyre, and he would play Lyre, and he would play to animals and children and people, and he would travel all over. There's been many paintings of him holding the lyre and he going by Orpheus. So there is a legend here. So I want to talk about, it's called Devil's Throat. So I did find this cave, and it's a pretty incredible cave, and it is known in the legend to be the access point, the doorway, where on one side is the living and on the other side is the dead, and there is this blue river that divides the two. So I just was getting so excited to get this information. So let me share with you, in the legend of Orpheus, Orpheus travels to this cave called Devil's Throat because Orpheus's wife had passed away and she was on the other side. And so Orpheus traveled down to get to the gates to the underworld where his wife existed. And so Orpheus negotiated and was approved to be able to bring his wife back up to what we call, here's the middle world, bring her up from the underworld. And so the way the legend goes is that Orpheus was told that Orpheus needed to come back to the mouth of the cave, that his wife would be following him, but he must not look back. No matter what, he mustn't look back, or she would have to go back to the underworld. And so apparently he was almost at the mouth of the cave when there was this loud clap of thunder that just shot through and echoed through the cave. It startled him before he even had a time to think. He whips his head around because he wants to make sure his wife is safe. And he sees her as she just turns and dissolves into a mist and returns back to the underworld. And legends also say that Orpheus went down as a musician, went down to the underworld as a musician, and came back as a prophet. And so you can look up a lot of information about the things that he prophesied. This is Bulgaria. I just love it. I just love it. So the rivers of blue that flow through this area can go thousands of miles. And they've actually, I wrote down here, it's legend that they've never found the other side, but it isn't just legend, it's true. They've never found the other side. So about 18 different streams can go into the cave opening. It goes down, it blends with this large river. They've put logs down there, they've put sticks down there, they've even put dye in there, lots of floating things. They have examined the whole area and they have never been able to find the other side. So this is why they believe that the legend is that this river truly does. It is the river of the underworld that travels through there. And no one's ever found it. All right, let's see what else about, I've talked about, a lot about Devil's Throat. So you can look it up online and there's YouTube videos on it as well. They were only like little 2-minute clips, so I didn't get a lot of information, but I bet you would have a lot of fun researching that. There is another cave that came to my awareness, and as I sensed this cave, it was very much a golden light. So it really aligned with what I was picking up about that golden beam of light going into the underworld. When I looked up, I guess they've got like, I don't know, 10 famous caves. I didn't look up all of them, just Devil's Throat jumped out at me, and then the Prohadna cave jumped out at me. So when I looked that up, it is known as the cave, the Eyes of God. So here you have Devil's Throat on one side, and Prohadna is the Eyes of God. And it two enormous eyes at the top of the cave, and when the sunlight streams in, it just fills the entire chamber with this beautiful divine light. Now, these areas are quite historically known, and you can take trips there. You can be guided to go there. And many of the caves you can't go into unless you do have a guide. But the blue light beings really wanted to amplify that connection that we are currently having with the underworld. And I have known, especially in the last month, that the frequency here on Earth is rising in such a way that it is becoming more of a comfortable frequency for those living in the underworld to rise up to the middle world. It's also here in the 3D level, but also there's many of you now who are starting to see the underworld. You're starting to see the little people. You're starting to see the mystical beings. You're starting to see things that maybe you couldn't see before, and you're helping to create safe places for them. So Bulgaria, the frequency there is incredibly ancient. It's high, but it's ancient, and it's grounded in an ancient way. So I'm excited. If I hear from any of you in the comment section who've been to Bulgaria, have you been to any of these caves? I would love to know what you feel. And for those of you who've never been there, but you want to go into meditation and feel into this country, I would love to know what you are experiencing as well. So thank you so much for tuning in again on our blue light hotspot focus of Bulgaria. And I will see you on our next video, our next talk on the blue light.